welcome to the Port Barre Coaches Show. You're here with Principal Nick McIntosh. Football season ended, but you've been staying pretty busy throughout the last probably 4 weeks or so.
Right.
You had to find a new head coach for the Port Barre. I know you've been real busy. I've been talking to you every now and then here and there, and every day was something you were getting ready to for the season, trying to find a coach. Tell us a little bit about the process you've been going through the last month or two.
Well, just speaking with people in the community and speaking with, people on staff and speaking with our kids. Again, we do this for our kids. It was very important we find the right fit. We need the right fit and the right person that was bought in with the community, that was all in about coming and building a program. This used to be, I told y'all, a juggernaut. This used to be the place to be. And my goal is that we're going to be that and even better, and there's just a lot of things that go in. The weight room, we got to be consistent. We got to have our kids in a weight room, year round. We've got to be conditioning. We got to be, understanding our playbooks. We got to have a plan and a purpose moving forward. And just looking for that right fit is what we've been doing.
So after all the change went, the community was kind of like, man, who's going to come coach Port Barre? Who's going to come? You had some great candidates that walked through the doors to want to be a coach at Port Barre. And I know you had conversations like, man, we had so many qualified guys to come out here. And ultimately, you had to make the decision. But tell us a little bit about some of the caliber of guys that you interviewed for the position.
We interviewed a guy that was a quarterbacks coach for UCLA for 3 years, worked under Chip Kelly. We interviewed another coach that had 28 years experience, a lot of 1,000-yard rushers. Been very productive. Interviewed a guy that's won several state titles, and again, I tell people X's and O's are really only about 10% of the process. The other part is the dedication, the environment, the culture you're going to bring, the work ethic, because again, this is not something you do just during football season. Mm-hmm. I tell people games aren't won during football season. They're won between January and the first game. That's when games are won. And, just trying to find that right guy, it's a difficult process, and I didn't take it lightly. I probably, I don't sleep much as it is, but I just wanted to make sure that I was getting the best person for our kids. I tell people at the end of the day, it's all about our kids, and I needed to make sure we found the right fit. And I'm without a shadow of a doubt, 100% sold that we got the right guy.
Yeah, I think at the end, I think that's gonna be what everyone sees. I know last 2 weeks for sure. It's you've been bouncing stuff like this coach is great. You left no stone unturned. You made sure that your man is the right man. Right. I think next year, and when we see the progress, I think in the end, it's going to be a great decision.
Oh, without a doubt, I have no doubt. At the end of the day, we got this community thrives around this school, and I tell people this is home to me. This is my home. And I tell people, when you want to take care of your home, when you want to take care of your family, you're going to do anything you can to ensure that you do what's best for them. And that's exactly what I did. So, I went out, I put my heart and my soul into it. I did a lot of praying, a lot of time on my knees. And, I just want to make sure that we make the right decision, not just for me, not just for Port Barre High, but for the community of Port Barre. And, again, I tell people I'm 100% sold that that's exactly what we did.
Okay. Well, we're going to introduce him in a little bit, so y'all stick around.
All right.
Thank you, Coach. Welcome to a special edition Port Barre Coaches Show. Standing next to me is the new guy, head coach, Vinnie Bolera. So, Vinnie, tell us a little bit about you. I know you grew up in the area, grew up playing football, not at Port Barre, but at another school. But I know you always had a respect for the tradition of Port Barre. We've discussed that before. But tell us a little bit about who Vinnie Bolera was growing up in the area.
Yeah, born in New Orleans, but that's only because my parents were there for education purposes. Both my parents are from Opelousas, so not born here, but raised in Opelousas. Right down the street, St. Landry Parish. Played football at Belmont Academy, which no longer exists. But back in those days, Port Barre was always, a well-respected program, and always has been. Ton of tradition. You knew those boys were tough. You knew they were going to play hard, and more often than not, they were going to come out with a win on Friday. And to get to know some of the guys during that time that were in high school at the same time, it was a pretty cool thing. So always had a ton of respect for this program. And then, when I got into coaching, we found ourselves in Port Barre's district. We moved up a class and playing against Coach Perron. And the job, I'm sure we'll talk about that later, but the job Coach Perron did over the years, just a slow build of consistency and excellence. And it got to where, at the end of his career, there was none better, in the state, regardless of class. So we got to coach against Port Barre in 1999 with one of the best teams that Coach ever had, and then got to coach against Port Barre 2 or 3 other times after that at various other schools. So ton of respect. Obviously, a program that you always have on your radar in terms of, if you ever have an opportunity to be a part of that program, Port Barre is one of them, especially in this area, that always has your interest in your eye.
So tell us a little bit about your family life. I know you kids and stuff. So
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about, who you are family-wise.
Married to the farmer Cammie Inhern. We're coming up on 30 years in January. We have 3 kids. Tucker is our oldest. Brock is our middle, and Presley is our daughter, and our youngest one. She goes to UL. Tucker lives in Denver. He's about to move back. Going to get married here pretty soon, and Brock lives in Austin. So, but except for the times we've had to move because of coaching, we've been in Opelousas, and I'm a blessed man. I can tell you that. If anybody knows my wife, they know that. That there is a God, and He blesses those who don't deserve to be blessed.
Well, first time I ever actually saw you coach, I think it might have been Brock's senior year at Westminster. I think it might have been your last game versus Westminster. You had 22 kids on the team. Brock was just coming back from I think a broken arm. You had another one out, so you were down to like 18 kids, and y'all were playing Sacred Heart. That was the first game I ever watched you coach. And the thing I remember about that game is not one of those kids quit. And the coaching not just from you, but your staff, the whole staff, and the mentality of the kids and their attitudes was something that I had never seen. And that was my first time ever watching one of your teams being coached. But take us back under your coaching career. Some people that you might have coached under that that inspired you to be a better coach, and take us down from where you started to where you are now.
Well, when I think about my career, I have to give all the praise to God. My faith is the number one thing in my life, and when I think about where I've been and what has happened and how changes have taken place and where I've ended up, it's never been of my own doing. It's always been the hand of God moving in my life, and He has blessed me to be around some incredible coaches. Jim Hightower is one of them. To be able to coach on Jim Hightower's staff was, we'd have to sit here for another 3 hours talking about that to tell you everything I learned from him. But, obviously, one of the best, if not the best in the state of Louisiana to do what he does, and just the leadership that he displayed, the humility he displayed. I always used to say that if you didn't know Jim Hightower was a Hall of Fame coach, you didn't know him, you would never know he's even a football coach.
Yeah.
He's not the bravado, macho guy. He is a humble guy who is all about building relationships. And, like Coach Mack was saying earlier, X's and O's are overrated. It's about leadership. It's about relationships. And so that's one of the things I learned from one of the many things I learned from Coach Hightower. And then, of course, from there, also coached with David Semino, who's at Central High School now. And, the things that I learned from him, just the way that he is able to, uh, as a high school football coach, football is a matter of life and death sometimes. And the thing about David is he keeps it in proper perspective. It's not a matter of life and death, and yet he's one of the most intense coaches and most passionate coaches out there. So, those two certainly come to mind first. I've just been blessed, man. I've been around great coaches, not just head coaches. I've been around great assistant coaches and great kids in great situations. And God has placed me in these places at various stages in my career and in my life to prepare me and also to grow me in certain instances. So yeah, I mean, I'm blessed.
Tell me one of your proudest moments of being a coach.
Oh man. I mean, I guess I could talk about championships and stuff like that, but really the proudest moments, I got to coach both of my sons, and that was a huge blessing. Nothing is more special. I know not everyone understands how special high school football is, but to already be a part of that great fraternity in Louisiana as being a high school football coach, but then to be able to coach your sons, that was really a blessing. I guess besides that, having players that I've coached that have come back and coached for me, that is always makes me super proud that those guys want to do that. So that's the things that come to mind.
So talking about team and stuff like that, I know you've already. I mean, the day I told you, I said, Vinnie, this job might come open. You've been throwing things like this is what we do. You were excited.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna say, one thing you touched on that you sent me a text about was your core values of your teams that you expect. Can you simplify it and break it down for what you expect out of your players and team?
Yeah, I mean, we have 6 core values that are going to govern our program, and they have to do with really the relationship you have to a family, and that's what a high school football team is. The parents over the years, you go through some spots with parents that you got to go through meetings, and you get called names on Friday nights sometimes from the stands, but at the end of the day, there are so many parents that have come back, and once they get out of the fog of war and they come out of the situation they were in and they can look back, they say, my son spent more time with you than he did with us, and that is something about high school football. I mean, it's the nature of the beast, especially during football season. Those kids are going to spend more time with their peers, their teammates, their coaches than they are at their own homes with their own families. So in that regard, the high school football team becomes your family, and it's a very brief amount of time. So all of our core values, which we're going to have posted everywhere, and our kids are going to know, they all have to do with family. Your commitment to the family, your investment in the family, your sacrifice for the family, your dying to self for the people around you, and that's what I hope to always bring and build wherever I am. That sense of family. Because if you're going out there and you're playing for a win, this isn't the NFL or college. If you're going out there and you're playing for yourself, well, that's selfish, and you may not have a good game anyway. If you're out there playing for stats, or you're out there playing because, daddy wants you to play and all those things, or you're out there for this, that, and the other, that's all going to fade. But if you're out there and you're playing for that guy next to you, and it's a random Tuesday in week 4 of the season, and the excitement of football season coming has faded, and it's 1,000 degrees outside, and you had a bad day at school. If you're playing for that guy next to you, and you really care about that guy next to you, then how you feel doesn't matter. And you're going to pour all you have into that team for those people around you. And when people do that, what can be accomplished is really amazing. It's really amazing. When that bond is built between guys, and they just make that decision that it's not about me, man, they can accomplish a lot. So that's really what I hope to bring. And one of the foundational words is the word agape, which is a Greek word for love. It's the highest form of love in the Greek language. It is a sacrificial love. The kids are going to hear about that ad nauseum. It's a love that says, I am willing to do whatever it takes for your benefit, even if it is to my detriment. And that is the type of relationships that I want to build and that I want our kids to build with one another. And it's going to take hard work. But the key is, they're going to have to understand that I care about them as young men first, not just as football players. And once that happens and they understand that, then that starts becoming contagious and they start understanding what is truly important. High school football is going to be done in a second. And you may go on to play college football. You may go on to play professional football. I've got kids I've coached that have Super Bowl rings. And the one thing that they always go back to is, I wish I could go back to Friday night lights. I wish I could go back to being with my brothers in the halls of my high school.
Yep.
So if we can get them to understand that, and we can do everything that we can to pour into that and build that culture and build that type of program where they're proud to be here and they want to be here, to make it as special of a 4 years as possible, then winning takes care of itself. So that is what I'm about first. You asked me to make it short and to boil it down.
But you actually answered my next question.
Okay.
Because I have the team speech.
Yeah.
You have heard that speech probably a million times, being a Michigan fan.
That's right.
Yes, he is a Michigan fan.
Go Blue, baby.
But so that's what I was going to ask you. What does that speech mean to you? But basically, that is exactly what that speech says.
It is. When Bo said that no man is more important than the team, no coach is more important than the team, that's exactly right. The team is what it's all about. The team is what it will always be about, which means it's always about someone else. And so if you can find your spot and you can add value to the team, you don't have to be the 1,000-yard rusher to add value to the team. You don't have to be the star quarterback to add value to the team. You find out where you're gifted. You find out where you're comfortable and even uncomfortable, where you can get better. You find out what you can add to make your team better. And guess what? You become a superstar in your own right. And that's what it's about. So, that 1,000-yard rusher, he's not a 1,000-yard rusher on his own. He needs that guy on the sidelines. He needs that guy up in the crow's nest filming. He needs that trainer. He needs that water boy or that water girl. We all need one another, and if we can all rely on one another, and it comes down to this, why do we do what we do? There's no game like football. American football is the greatest game ever invented, but what is the purpose of it? What are we doing? It teaches real masculinity. It teaches godly masculinity. It teaches how to be a man in the right way. It teaches about sacrifice. It teaches about those things, and it's inherent in football. It's going to come out. And so it just comes down to, we need one another. Players need coaches. Coaches need players. We need one another. The Bible says that as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. That's what football is about to me. It's about rubbing elbows with dudes who are committed to the same cause, that all are on the same rope, pulling in the same direction, and we're all trying to make each other better as men. That's what it's about. So, there are going to be days when I have a bad day. Well, I'm going to need some players and some coaches to call me back into, what the standard is, and I can't have a bad day. There's going to be days when I'm having a great day, and I'm going to have to do that for somebody else, whether it's a coach or a player or whatever, and we got to do that for each other and with each other. And when you do those things and you do them from a pure heart and you do them authentically, winning takes care of itself. It's a byproduct. It's a byproduct. Winning's never going to be the bottom line for me. The scoreboard is what it is. The bottom line for me is building true relationships based on proper love. Do we love one another and care for one another? And can we become better at the end of 4 years when I'm a graduating senior? Am I a better man at the end of that than I was when I was a freshman? Do I have a better perspective? Do I understand who I am more? Do I understand what God has called me to do more? And if that is the case, then we've succeeded.
Yep. I think it was actually Bo Schembechler who said, they asked him, he says, was this the best team you had? And he said, I can't answer that. He said, 20 years from now, when I see what they become as a profession, as a husband, I can tell you what kind of team it was.
That's right.
And yeah,
that's exactly right.
So I know last week you called and he was like, hey, I want to watch some film with these kids. And you got on YouTube and you pulled up some film and stuff like that. So you got to kind of look at the team to see, but I mean, it's, some of the guys are going to be going, but what is what do you want to tell the returning players that are coming and some of the kids who think, hey, you know what, I might give this a shot. I want to come out and play.
Yeah. First of all, I would tell the kids that you are blessed to be a part of Port Barre football. Not because I'm here saying that, not because it's you're getting a new coach. That's not what it is. You are blessed to be a part of a football program with a ton of tradition, with a ton of pride, a ton of support, and it's been that way before you were born. It's been that way before I was born. So to be a part of something with so much tradition, be a part of something that people take such pride in, that supports so much, that is a blessing. There are plenty of high school football programs around the state of Louisiana, around the country. There are plenty of high schools and people who have played football and coaches and all that type of stuff. But there are only a few places that have the type of support and tradition and expectation and driven by the community like Port Barre has. Mm-hmm. So to be a part of that is something special. It's not something to be taken lightly. It's not something to say, well, I go to Port Barre and I play football. No, it's way more than that. It's way more than that. So I want those guys to understand that they are part of something special, and how special they want it to be is going to be directly related to how much they want to make it special, how much they want to pour in, how much they want to do. As far as team wise and talent wise, I turn on the film and I see Port Barre High School, and I see the same type of roster I feel like I've been seeing for the last 30 years. There's talent, there's good size, kids playing hard. It looks like Port Barre to me. Mm-hmm. So I don't see anything on film that says, well, man, Port Barre is not what it used to be, or maybe the talent is down, or maybe the numbers are down, or maybe the kids don't play hard. It looks like Port Barre to me. Mm-hmm. So, got even more excited when I started turning the film on and looking at some of these guys.
So we both got these good shirts.
That's
Those
right.
who stay will be champions.
That's right.
Tell me what that means to you.
Man. Obviously, Bo Schembechler came up with that phrase in 1969 when everybody was quitting the team because he was, quote unquote, too hard. Mm-hmm. And he was true to his word, because in 21 seasons, they won 13 Big Ten championships, won some Rose Bowls, that type of stuff. But I never met Bo, but I think I know what he meant. Mm-hmm. I don't think Bo Schembechler was concerned about the scoreboard either. Nope. I think Bo was concerned about building champions in life. Yep. And to me, that's what it means. If you commit to Port Barre football and you commit to all that we're going to be doing, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a grind. It's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. But if you commit to it, and not just commit like show up, but actually commit, sacrificially commit, invest in it, then at the end of those 4 years, you're going to learn how to be a champion in life. Now, you have to take the impetus and do what you have to do to be that champion. But to me, that's what it's about. It's becoming a champion in life. What type of father are you? What type of employee are you? What type of husband are you? Employer. If you own a business, what type of employer are you? How do you treat people? How do you build others up? Do people want to be around you? Do people get better by being around you? Are you a multiplier or a divider? And those are the things that are so important. I guarantee you, all the dudes that once they're done with their high school football career and they go to their 10-year reunion, they're not going to be talking about scores. They're going to be talking about, man, you remember that day in the locker room? Man, you remember that day in the weight room? You remember that practice when this guy did this? You remember when Coach so-and-so said that? That's what they're going to remember. And all those things are based on relationships. Yeah. And if you don't have relationships, the trophies fade, the rings tarnish, the scores are forgotten. The relationships last. The relationships last. So to me, that is what being a champion is. It is at the end of the day, which for your football career, be it when you graduate or when you're done in December, or those relationships you build and what you have done, is it going to last? Is it going to last? I see guys I played high school football with 30-something years ago, and we pick up right where we left off. Hadn't seen them in 10 years, you pick right up where you left off. I had a kid that I coached that just got married this past weekend, and I got to see like 25 dudes that I coached, and to see those dudes reconnect to the way that we reconnect, it's like they never left. Yeah. It's like, hey, we got football practice in 2 hours, and to be able to do that and have those relationships, man, that's special. Yeah. I can't tell you what the scores were of those games that we had with those dudes. I know we went to the Superdome, and we did lose that game, but I can't tell you the scores and this thing and that. I can tell you that those kids are special kids. Now you look at them as young men and they're just you're so proud, you know, so proud to see them. So that's what being a champion is to me.
Yeah. That's one of my first memories of meeting you. My brother was working at Daily World, and I was going with him somewhere, and it was, I think, a Saturday morning maybe, and came in a prep football field. There's a bunch of guys playing, probably 25, 30 years old, full gear, but there was one guy in full Michigan attire. And I'm like, me and Brady's like, turned and said, who are these? And he went talk to y'all, and I was like, oh, who was that? The guy, Vinnie Bolera. That's the first time I ever met you. Y'all playing tackle football as grown men.
That's right. That's right. Get after it.
Yeah.
Devin Perron was one of those guys.
Yeah.
He used to come and play with us.
Remember, y'all had a group of y'all that y'all would go out there and play.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that brings you back to some good times that you can remember back.
Absolutely.
But anything else you got to say to the community or?
Man, I just, one of the things, obviously we talked about this, Port Barre always being on your radar and being a program you want to be a part of if you have the opportunity. I'm going to tell you, Coach Mack and getting to know him over this time, that I don't want to say that he sold me. It's more of, man, that's a guy who shares my vision, who shares my philosophy, a guy I want to lock arms with and be able to build something special here. And it's not just about football, building a school, being able to walk down the halls and everybody's on the same page. I want the football players to be the leaders in this school. Well, that's what Coach Mack wants. He wants young men of integrity that are going to do right, not because somebody's watching, but they're going to do right, period, because it's the right thing to do. Right. And it's rare in this day and age because, you've got school districts and you've got school boards and you've got government policies and you've got this and you've got that. It's rare to find someone that says, yeah, I mean, we have to worry about all that stuff and we'll do what we do to take care of that. But we're about building young men, and if we can get, whether people like it or not, the football players, they are the leaders of the school. And so, you don't get to choose whether or not you're a leader. The only question is, are you going to lead in the right direction or are you going to lead in the wrong direction? And so Coach Mack has that vision. All the things I've heard about Coach Mack, asking around the community and talking to people, I mean, the support that he is creating, and it's not because he's, this special dude. It's because of what he stands for, and he's going and doing those things that he says he wants to do, and his values come to the forefront. Well, that's what I'm about. And so to be able to lock arms with him and build something special and be able to build young men and build a school and build people who are going to lead, that is really what sealed the deal for me. I don't take, just any job lightly. It has to be the right fit, and Coach Mack was talking about that earlier. It has to be the right fit. And to be at a place with a principal like this who, again, shares the same values of building young men, how can you turn that up? How can you turn that down? And then the fact that it's Port Barre with just a little bit of tradition and a little bit of expectation.
Pretty good fight song.
Pretty good fight song. That's icing on the cake.
Yeah. Well, let's make this official. It's not going to be official until you get your Bort's jalapeno sausage cheese bread.
Let's go, baby.
There you go.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
I've only had about 50 of these in my life. So
well, but now you're going to get one every afternoon because you're right there at Bort's.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yes,
Looking
sir.
forward
Thank
to the
you.
season.
Yes, sir.
Thank